Hi, I'm Brian, attorney for businesses and creators, and today I want to talk about succession planning. Now, a lot of companies I work with have amazing plans for the future. They want to get to a certain stage, they're looking to sell out, or they're just looking to be able to run this their entire lives or until they decide to retire and to generate enough to live on comfortably and to save so that they can have that retirement. And I love working with these companies. It's amazing. A lot of them don't necessarily have any emergency planning because they're looking at a positive future and they're looking at the now. The most important thing today is to get paid. The most important thing today is to protect the brand. The most important thing today is today. That is really a powerful thing, but at the same time, it leaves the negative surprise as more of an issue. And with 2020, we're really seeing a need for these companies and for these people to make sure that they're covered in case of a negative emergency. And that's really going to take the form of three things. One is ownership, one is the bank, and one is family. So let's start with ownership. Ownership is defined in one of multiple types of documents, depending on what type of entity you are. So if you're an LLC, you're likely talking about an operating agreement. If it's a partnership agreement, bylaws for a corporation. A lot of times we'll have other documents as well, such as a founder's agreement or something to that effect. What a lot of people don't have is a buy-sell agreement or definition within their founders or operating agreements talking about what happens in case. So that in case doesn't actually have to be death. It can be retirement, or it can be disability, or anything where you as an owner don't feel like you can continue as an owner. Now, that can be as simple as an agreement to hire somebody. It can be as complicated as using life insurance to fund a buyout. It doesn't really matter. What matters is there's a plan. The plan doesn't even have to stay the same over time. All of these agreements can be terminated within a certain period of time, or they can be modified. We can always agree to change these contracts. There might be a process. We might have to get more agreements or less agreements, but we can do it. But it's having a plan just in case. And the second part of this is the bank. The bank, one, is going to have its own rules, so you may want to check with your bank to figure out what exactly you need. But for a bank account to exist and to work, there has to be an authorized user. If you're a single member company and you're the authorized user and you're the only authorized user, if something happens to you and you can't go into the bank or otherwise log into your accounts, there's a problem. And it can take a while to really work through that problem. So that's why we have authorization statements, either within an operating agreement or powers of attorney personally. Things that on trigger give authority to a person, and that authority is given by a recognized user. again, you're going to want to check with your bank over what specifically they want. The third thing is your family. Typically, this is going to be your will, your trust, your general and medical powers of attorney. What these documents do in relation to business is they create authorizations and they create pathways of transfer of ownership. If we don't have an ownership agreement in place, if we don't have bank account authorizations, the thing that is going to save us is probate. And probate either follows the statutory rules or it's going to follow your will. And the benefit to writing things out is you can say, okay, I want to give my spouse the business. I want to give my aunt the business. I want the business to go to my kids. Whereas if it just goes through the rules of probate, if you're in a situation where it's you, your spouse, and 2 kids, if you and your spouse die at the same time, your ownership interest in your business is going to go to your kids equally. And that can be problematic. Not necessarily, but it can be. So essentially, this is a situation where you hire an attorney because attorneys think about as many different types of scenarios as can happen, both good and bad. And when we're pushing these, it's not because we necessarily think it's going to happen to a client, but because we've seen too many clients where they haven't done something and it's created family problems. It's created a situation where a business that could have taken off falls apart. And so it's always important to have some kind of plan. And it's important to make sure that plan is updated from time to time. So go forth, plan, and I'll talk to you soon.